Good morning to you. Welcome to Wild Earth Safari this morning. This is Djuma Game Reserve here in the Sabi Sands, and my name is Mark. Sebastian is with me on camera, and Tara, who's probably doing her last shift before she disappears for a while, is back in final control. And a beautiful morning actually. Got some heavy cloud cover, which makes it quite warm. I'm actually a little bit overdressed, but I'm expecting the temperature to drop a little bit as the sun starts rising, so let's hold thumbs. It's not going to get too cold. Being a nice still morning, I see a few animals about already. There's some impala behind me, and I saw some wildebeest making their way. They're probably going to be coming out here soon. They're just over this little ridge, and behind me you can see a lot of debris. We're going to be seeing a lot of this because I do take note of the trees, and I take note of a lot of what happens to the trees. And I don't mind when nature I won't say destroys, but when nature breaks things, it's one thing. When humans cut things, it's another. But these branches around this marula tree are all from that storm that we had a little while ago. And I'm going to be obviously finding some things that I haven't seen, having been away myself. So we're going to take a drive. Karula's tracks were here this morning, and I believe she was seen close to the lodge last night. Now the tracks moved down towards our camp, and of course there's nowhere we can drive over there to find her. But we're going to take a ride around this open area. I can hear some francolins making a little bit of a fuss just ahead of us, and we're going to go and have a look at that first. And then maybe we'll do Galago shortcut, and we'll concentrate on this area a little bit, see if we can't find this lady, Queen of Djuma. This impala herd's quite split up, and I think he's come here to try and get them back to the rest of the herd. Well, let's go and see why this francolin's making a noise.
Hi everybody, this is Time Final Control. I'm not too sure why we've lost picture. We're just out on the open area at quarantine, so I'm going to try and get in touch with the guys. They're not too sure what the problem is at the moment, but I'm hoping it's just going to be something simple, and we'll be back on Game Drive very shortly.
No, she went the other way, but there's this big rhino tracks here. Big male. Welcome back, everyone. We lost you there for a minute. Excuse me. The tracks of a big male rhino here. But it must have been yesterday early sometime, because guinea fowl, they're all quite relaxed, so nothing came this way. I think we can be fairly certain of that. Guinea fowl also make quite a fuss when there's a predator, whether it's a snake or an eagle or an owl or a cat. So what do we have? Wildebeest been dragging his feet. Monday, Monday. Any vehicles out on drive? Morning, Lex.
Yeah, morning. So we just got on Boston Brook at the moment, just checking on some line tracks going sort of north.
Okay, copy, thanks. Just to let you know, Karula was around the lodge last night. I found her tracks this morning near our camp, which is the back of Weir Taylor. I'm going to have a look around Gallagher Shortcut area.
Okay, copy, thank you.
Hello, young waterbuck. Where's your mother? A bit of an angle here, but I should be able to see her. Pardon? Bad angle. Yeah, it is. The road's washed away on one side. Bad erosion. Edge of a seat line. I'm going to stop and look at this little waterbuck, partly because I want to see whether its behaviour, see whether it's a little bit better. Still a bad angle. Pretend it's a slope on a mountain, not our angle, the angle of the waterbuck. It is quite a slope here actually, because we're sloping down to the drainage line. The rest of the group might be off here to the left somewhere, seeing that it's coming this way. But this is a youngster. It's not like some of the newborns that are left on their own. This is not that young. The little boy, horn buds are just coming through his head. Put him at maybe about 6 months old. Maybe a bit, yeah, about 6 months. Very fluffy. Well, be safe, little boy. Maybe we'll see the rest of the family shortly. Good morning, Richard and Lisa. A very interesting question coming from Richard and Lisa. What criteria needs to be met in order for an animal to be considered endangered or threatened? Well, there are actually specific. I don't know the specifics. I mean, I'd have to read up on it again. But the IUCN, International Union of Conservation of Nature, I think it's the IUCN, has what is called the Red Data List or the Red Data Book. Yes, it is the IUCN, if I'm not mistaken. And in the Red Data Book, you find lists of animals that are listed, and this is an internationally recognized system of recognizing what status an animal species is in as either threatened, endangered, extinct, vulnerable. Some species that are considered vulnerable. And I wish I could answer the specifics as to what makes an animal vulnerable as opposed to threatened, as opposed to endangered. But obviously their population status, their status in the wild is the main factor that is involved here. And often that status, that population level reaches a point as a result of deforestation and overexploitation in some cases. 99%, I'd say, probably at this stage of the planet's history, I'd say at least maybe 99% of the animals that are listed as endangered, threatened, are in a state like that because of human interference. Now, there are natural extinctions that take place. Animals that no longer fulfill a niche as economically, I suppose you could say, as something else, and so they'd be phased out because nature has a better way of fulfilling that niche with something else. And unfortunately, quite often, due to human intervention and humans moving things around the planet, you find that the introduction of a foreign species into an area is likely to push out an indigenous species, because somehow the foreign species doesn't have the predator, but it finds ideal conditions to thrive, and it can push out something that is. But that's not a natural extinction. You find natural extinctions occurring where animals just reach the end of their genetic life, I suppose. They no longer become a viable species. Oh, there's wildebeest that moved. Impala here. I suppose there's wildebeest. Must be here near the Impala too. Yeah, they are. I want to see if that female with the chevron on her nose, that one that looks like the Nyasaland wildebeest, see if she's rejoined the group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's one calf. There's another. Morning, everyone. It's going to be easy to find an individual with their backs to us and their heads in the grass. Another calf, 2 calves. Makes 3. I thought there were only about 2 or 3 left. Unless some other females and their calves have joined. I'm seeing 3 calves here now. 1, no, 4. Oops, I did it again. Travel mugs are only good if they have travel mug holders. Well, I should say travel mugs are only as steady as the holders that hold them. Yes, no, driving through the bush, shouldn't have my tea with me. Let's move on. I want to get to Gallagher Shortcut. Let's go see if we can pick up on some tracks. This is a peaceful scene. It might change if there's a predator around, and the idea is to drive around a little bit and see if there might not be something in the area. They're all pretty well spread out. Impala and wildebeest. Wow. Another branch that flew off. Now this is what I was talking about the other day. If we look at the size of this branch on the ground just here next to the car and where it came from up there. That's a good 20 feet away from where it's lying, and it's a huge branch. In fact, it's so big that the guys had to chop it up rather than move it. Actually, I think they could have moved it, pushed it with a tractor or something. But this is a branch. It's almost like a typical tornado. There's like this channel, this swath of destruction in this particular line coming in from the gate almost all the way down Vuyatela Access Road, past Vuyatela. We're going to do Zoe's Road a little bit later. We'll see if there's any damage there. But I haven't been driving around much since the storm, and I'm going to be taking some roads I didn't take on my first drive or second drive. And I'm always interested to see these kind of things. We don't get this very often. When you see a lot of these trees, like this marula tree ahead of us, and somehow it was spared, I guess, the main brunt of it. But when you look at these trees that are ancient, some of them, some of the big trees that were pushed over in front of the lodge have been there for several hundred years. Trees in this part of the world grow very slowly, and well, it accounts for their hard wood. But when you have big trees that clearly have been standing for several hundred years, you know that a storm that came through like we had just recently is a storm that hasn't been that violent, or there hasn't been something that heavy or bad for a few hundred years, because none of these trees show that kind of damage. A lot of these adult trees. Interesting. Dung of a porcupine. Small porcupine. There are porcupine tracks by the looks of things. So, getting back to what I was talking about. When certain animal species reach a stage where their survival as a species is in doubt and in question, I think there are obviously certain things, at certain levels of a species, certain numbers, coupled with the I suppose, the security of the habitat they live in. Because what good is a species if it doesn't have a habitat to survive in? So I think that a lot of it has got to do with its available habitat and its numbers, and that will determine what status it is given. And of course, I'm sorry to say that I don't know the specifics as to what makes one vulnerable and another threatened. As the numbers diminish, so the status gets higher and more critical. Birds. How much shrikes? Well, it was a bird party, but there were many more birds than that. Well, it doesn't look like Karula's come this way. I'm thinking she's still around the lodge. Maybe we need to turn around and go back towards the dam. I had a lot of washing on the line that was left overnight, and yesterday morning most of it was on the ground, and I was thinking, that's strange, we haven't had a wind. And it didn't occur to me until this morning when I saw Karula's tracks and heard that she was around camp, that maybe one of the leopards was playing with my laundry again. Shirts and towel on the ground, and sweaters. I must look for claw marks and bite marks. I didn't think to do that. The noises around distracting me. Franklin's shouting, I can hear oxpeckers. There they are. Sarah with an S or an F? Sarah or Sarah? Sarah. I'm pronouncing it correctly. Interesting question. But then all questions are interesting. But morning, Sarah. Sarah. As in Tara. Tara, Sarah. Look, there's the wild honeysuckle again. It's one of the only ones that I've seen here, and it's the one that I showed you before, but I do have to show you a flower, because there's always going to be a flower for the ladies, even if it's only one tiny little flower and another bud. And just below it, funny enough, if any of you took a photograph of that honeysuckle when I showed it to you, the wild honeysuckle, you'll notice that that's a very pretty flower. If we just move down the stem a little bit, you'll see the seed, and that's probably where those flowers were when I first showed this to you about a month ago. And they're going to turn bright orange, those seeds. And I might even monitor them and try and grow one. I have some growing around my bird bath at home. Wild honeysuckle. Sarah was asking, before I was interrupted, as I always am, why do some antelope, well, let's put it this way, if I can paraphrase, how come some antelope, both male and females, have horns like the wildebeest and some don't? I think one of the main factors there is whether an antelope lives out on the open plains or whether an antelope lives in denser bush, and of course it's got something else to do with numbers. But mostly you find things like the gazelles, the Thompsons and the Grants and the springbuck and the wildebeest and the hartebeest and the tsessebe and the congoni, and well, all the open plains antelope. As a means of defense, both sexes have horns to be able to defend themselves against predators. Why it is that the antelope, like the spiraled horned antelope, the kudu, the nyala and the bushbuck, and then the impala and the small antelope like duiker and steenbuck, those animals that move around the denser bush, they're also faced with predators. But why they're not given a defense weapon is beyond me. Isn't that knobthorn, huge branch taken off of that knobthorn, 2 branches. Left the tree a little bare. Big buffalo here. Buffalo over here. Okay, we can take this shortcut. Seems the buffalo did too. And make our way around Gowrie Dam and do a big loop, come back to quarantine just in case. This leopard and her cubs might move around a little bit later. Whoops, forgot about that. Big hole. Well, just ahead of us, this fallen terminalia, is a brown-hooded kingfisher. Just he's gone. Just got a little bit too close. Sitting above this little muddy patch. Probably the odd little frog. Right, he's there actually. Should be able to see it. Not as noisy as the woodlands kingfishers of summer, and not as blue as the woodlands kingfisher, but still pretty little kingfisher, and also a kingfisher that lives here in the woodland rather than above water, and an insect eating kingfisher. And a little bit smaller. So when the woodlands kingfishers come here in summer, they tend to take a back seat, the brown-hooded. They become a little bit quiet and a little subdued when their larger cousins come in. Noisy, boisterous, bombastic cousins from Central Africa. This is a resident, also territorial. They can be loud though, when they are making a noise. Let's see if I can pick up that sound at some point during the morning, if we hear a brown-hooded kingfisher. Good morning, Melva Ann. How are you doing today? Different kind of question from Melva, referring to a program about interior decorating, seeing something covered in giraffe skin and learning that it was a real giraffe skin. Melva Ann wants to know, is it legal to hunt giraffe or to kill giraffe? Well, unfortunately, Melva Ann, in some places, yes. In Tanzania, no. Tanzania, giraffe is the national animal, so you're not allowed to kill a giraffe in Tanzania, even though poachers do. There's a lot of meat on a giraffe, and poachers for the meat trade, unfortunately, do kill them. But throughout southern Africa, not only South Africa, but neighboring countries too, there are game ranches. There are areas where farmers farm with wildlife as opposed to cattle or other forms of domestic stock. I guess in some ways it can be more lucrative because instead of, oh, this poor boerbean, no, it's not a boerbean, it's a false marula. Also had an arm broken. Nice big false marula. The elephant's been pushing over false marulas at home. 2 outside my house that have been pushed over. Melva Ann, a lot of game ranches that farm with, oh, there's something up ahead, a Nyala bull. They don't have predators, and you find that these animals tend to breed a lot, and of course their numbers have to be kept down to what we call a carrying capacity. And so, yes, they are either hunted or culled, or rather slaughtered for their meat and skins, and every part of an animal gets eaten, gets used, gets processed somehow. You know, unfortunately, wildlife pays more than farming with domestic stock. You won't get a hunter to come in and shoot a cow, but you'll get a hunter to come in and shoot an impala, for example. So that Nyala bull has just moved off, unfortunately. gone into the stick stuff. Now, you know, there's an ongoing argument, and there will be till the end of time, because as long as there are humans that want to shoot animals, there will be people that will provide the means by which they can do that. And while I abhor the thought of it, I do have to say that on one hand, in terms of the integrity of the environment, in terms of the integrity of the biodiversity within an area, I would rather see farming of kudu and springbuck and farming of wild animals rather than the farming of cattle and goats and sheep. Sheep farming in this country has destroyed populations of leopard, caracal, jackal, a lot of the smaller predators, and they continue to do so. There's a war between the sheep farmers and the likes of caracal, which is our lynx, the African lynx, and the mountain leopards and jackals, even eagles, even vultures. Farmers, there's still farmers these days that believe that vultures will kill their sheep because they, get a cold snap, lose a few sheep, and find a vulture on your sheep carcass, and the farmer doesn't know that the vulture is incapable of killing the sheep. And by the same token, you might find an eagle feeding on a dead sheep, especially the likes of a black eagle or a martial eagle, even a tawny eagle. And of course the eagle gets blamed for the death. Now, the other side of it is, when farmers are farming with domestic stock, they eradicate everything else. They pretty much wipe out all the competition for their own animals. In other words, they'll take an area of perfect bush or natural habitat, and they will eradicate all the competition of, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked because I think there are leopard tracks here. Just so that the sheep don't have, or the cows don't have competition. Whereas with animals, it is leopard tracks. I'm going to take the fire break. It's a little bit rough, but we'll take it nonetheless. When you farm with wildlife, the wildlife doesn't unless there are too many of them, but they don't overextend themselves. They don't need vaccinations, they don't need antibiotics, they don't need treatment for living in a foreign place. And it's just safer for the environment to have the animals that occur there. And if you're going to have to use animals for meat and skins and whatever, unfortunately, as much as I know this might sound strange coming from me, it's better to do it with wildlife than domestic animals, because domestic animals are destructive. I know a farm up near Phalaborwa. I know of it. I don't know it. I know of it. Where there are so many giraffe that they're actually, some of them are starving because they, in such a small area, even a few hundred acres or hectares, as large as the area is, when there are just too many of one particular animal, they start overutilizing the environment that they live in. With cattle and goats and sheep, you get overgrazing. With giraffe, you get overbrowsing. And what can happen is that the trees can never recover, and trees have this natural defense against overutilization. They produce tannins, which they force into their leaves, that make the leaves very bitter, if not toxic eventually. And a property like that, it will become necessary, unless they have already, to unfortunately cull some giraffe. And in terms of revenue, well, just like cow skins and sheep skins are used for their leather, I suppose So it is with giraffe and zebra and other animals. Hyena dung, not very fresh. I couldn't imagine someone shooting a giraffe, but unfortunately it happens. I was appalled. Last time I was on leave, because I went to the local butchery, and because the local butchery is centered in, centered in an area where there are a lot of game farms, a lot of self-contained properties that do farm with wildlife. They had giraffe steaks and giraffe biltong. People don't see it as any different to any other animal. It's an animal with meat. I won't eat giraffe, just on principle. Like I won't eat elephant. Come on, you can do it. Hello Mary, and welcome to Wild Earth Safari. Hello Mary. Well, I'm looking for this leopard's tracks if it's still here, otherwise we're going to go back to the main road, which I think we're going to have to do. Mary, I'll get to your question in a second. Leopard left the road somewhere while I was chatting. Well, we'll drive around and see what we can find. Gonna go towards the dam now. Mary was asking about the trees, and welcome to your first drive, Mary. I hope you're going to enjoy your time with us here in Safari in South Africa. The average age of the trees in this area, well, it depends on the tree, Mary. I'm going to show you some of the big jackalberries that have got to be 600 to 800 years old easily. Some of the big leadwoods that have lasted for maybe up to 1,000 or more years, that are still there and still growing strong. Then you get small trees like some of these, the lower stories trees, this understory, the wattles and the bush willows, and some of these trees that don't have such a long lifespan. They only live for a couple of hundred years, and so there's this constant rotation of trees on the understory, this lower level of trees. In any given patch of ground there are going to be trees of all ages. I mean, if we have a look here, just to my right here, there's a little tree growing. In fact, there are a couple. There's a young, don't forget the worm bark. That little albizia, that little green one there, sort of just left of center. Not the dead one, no. It's not easy to see really, but that's about 3 foot high. That is a little false thorn, and it is probably already about 15 years old, maybe, to be able to be that big. 10 to 15 years old, and it'll still grow for another 200 years and become a tree of about 20 to 30 feet high. In front of me is buffalo thorn. That's probably already about 20 years old. They grow very slowly. As soon as I go past, it's a youngster. It's going to take a long time to reach adulthood. But now you have to remember that there are so many things that are going to affect a tree's growth over time. One of them being elephant. So that a tree that eventually reaches the size of these adult trees, for it to be able to get there after 200 odd years of elephants coming by and giraffes browsing, and well, to get to be an adult tree in this part of the world is quite a feat. Kim or Ken? Kim in Wisconsin. Morning, Kim. The flower that I took a little while ago, the lantana, a different flower to the wild honeysuckle that I showed you now. But I showed you that same wild honeysuckle plant a little while ago with a few more flowers lower down, and where those flowers were is where those seeds are now. Soon we'll be able to see the seeds growing where these flowers are. But I'm not too sure. I think you're referring to a flower. If I picked a flower, it would have been a lantana, yes. It would have been an alien flower. I don't pick indigenous flowers unless they're profuse, unless there are so many of them. But then again, it's easier to find. If there are a lot of them, it's easier to find one that's on the ground already. Like when the sausage tree is in flower. Just zipping up. As predicted, it's getting a little chilly now that the day is dawned and the sun is up, albeit behind a cloud. Kim in Wisconsin. How are the fires in Colorado? Anyone in Colorado? Just had a group of people from Colorado here at the lodge. Uh-oh. Cubs, Karula and cubs. I have to go back the other way. Maybe we'll just do a loop. Come around on Gari, cut line. So, she would have, where we are now is we're east of the lodge and east of camp. And if we look through the trees at a couple of masts due west of us is where Karula was. Now, that tall mast is is room 8. If we go a little bit to the right of that, you see some white masts further down, further back in the bush. Now that is where Wild Earth Camp is, Safari TV's camp. Those are masts on our buildings for radio and internet and stuff. And that's where she was. So she must have come through from there, come through past the lodge and onto this road, and she's headed north. And we're going to do a trip around Gari Cutline, go back to Buffalo Cutline, see if we can't maybe pick up something. Legs come in. Alex, if you're interested, Karula's tracks are on Mvubu Road heading north. I didn't see anything where it joins up with the fire break. And there were other Ingwe tracks on the fire break further west of Mvubu Road. I'm just going to do a loop around on Gari Cut Line. If you're interested. Wow, now see, this is something I hadn't seen yet. Look at this tree. But I'm not surprised it didn't last, because this is a knobthorn. Wow. There you go again.
Which roads have you checked?
I came up Gallagher Shortcut and took that, I think it's called Ephraim's Shortcut, from Gallagher Shortcut up to Buffalo's Cut Line. And then I went south again on Mvubu Road.
Okay. Okay, and I'll just go east along Buffelshoek boundary, see if I get anything there.
Okay, copied. There were other tracks of another Ingwe at that where that shortcut joins up with the fire break, on the fire break, but then it must have moved on to Buffalo's Cut Line from there. I haven't done anything on the cut line now. So if you look at this tree, right, the center of this tree was actually quite hollow, so there wasn't really that much holding this tree up, other than, well, I don't know, but it was a very old tree, very big tree. But the middle of it seems to have been, I wonder if that was from a lightning strike a long time ago. But that was hollow. Another magnificent big knobthorn. Now, we've had strong winds before. Obviously nothing. In fact, while I'm here, let me just show you another thing. The main mast, which we can see from here. That's our main broadcast mast, and you can see the top of it. That's what needs a crane to come in, to come and fix that part. But there are a whole bunch of things up there that were bent, and they obviously managed to fix some of them. But that one top of the mast that bent like it has, a part of it, it's going to have to stay bent. Somehow everything still seems to be working okay, even though it's bent. And in Vancouver, that's right. Now another question. And in Vancouver, if I can only rewind my mind. I didn't copy that. And I was trying to remember what Anne was asking. Anne in Edmonton, Alberta. Do we have problems with elephants going into villages? Sometimes yes, Anne. Not as much as might happen in other parts of Africa. In South Africa, there are, well, up until now, should I say, they have been pretty, they've been pretty conscientious about keeping the boundaries of the parks closed, and especially for Kruger, the entire western edge of Kruger is electrified. So generally speaking, animals can't really get out of the reserve. But having said that, elephants are very intelligent, and elephants have learned about electric fences, and I've known of some incidents where a group of bulls will find a youngster that's maybe just left the herd, a little 15, 16-year-old. I'm talking about elephants now, not humans, but you have to remember that elephants are, well, they age on a par with us humans, so it's very, very similar. Anyways, a group of bulls will find a youngster and they'll sort of edge him towards the fence and then actually push him into the fence so that the youngster breaks the fence, because they know that it's electrified, and they'll actually force the youngster to break the fence. It only happened once, of course, but then the youngster learns about it and they'll never do it again. And then the elephants will get out and they'll go and raid some crops. And there have been times when you find pumpkin plants and things growing out of elephant dung after a while. Well, here we are at the dam. Hippos are back. Hello, hippos. They weren't here the other day. But in other parts of Africa, and of course in India, that's where the biggest problems are, where there is no inclination, I guess, to control where the animals move around. And I mean, some of the largest parks that I've worked in and reserves, there are no boundary fences. There's nothing stopping the animals from moving into rural areas, other than animals just not wanting contact with humans. But there's always going to be conflict, unfortunately. But here, no. I don't know when an elephant last broke out of Kruger. Okay, let's continue, shall we? We're actually going to go back to Central Road. Richard and Lisa, hello to you again. Staying on the theme of elephants. How much time do elephants spend foraging, and how much do they eat a day? I'd say they spend pretty much most of their time foraging, feeding. One of those things that constant food production. Constantly food going in and constantly food coming out. Elephants don't digest very much. They are they don't have a rumen. They don't have the digestive system of the ruminants. The elephants digest through process of hindgut fermentation. What is that? Bird dropping, maybe. And they don't really digest very much of what they take in, so they're constantly eating. I mean, they do take time off and they rest a little bit for a few minutes at a time, and then of course there's time when they're walking, and then there's time when they're drinking. But you could probably say 23 hours out of 24 maybe elephants are processing or chewing on food of some sort, whether it is just pulling at bark or actually feeding on grasses. Elephants have such a varied diet. In fact, pretty much every part of any plant can be eaten. Of course, there are plants that they won't eat. There's some plants that are toxic, some plants that are bitter. There's some plants that they will use medicinally that they will only use little bits of. But it's this huge variety of food that makes it very difficult. I've always thought, and I don't know, in books, and I've heard other guides say it, that elephants will eat 250 kilograms of food a day, or some, I don't know, some arbitrary figure. But it all depends. I mean, it depends on what part of the tree it is that they're eating. I mean, obviously, it's going to be different if they're eating a lot of grasses at certain times of the year, or if they're eating bark on the roots, branches. Let's just put it this way, they eat a lot. They consume vast amounts of plant matter. And depends, I guess, on what time of the year and what part of the plant as to what the weight of the food is. I suppose the figures that books give, things like the amount of water an elephant drinks or the amount of food, I guess it's an average, I guess it's an approximate number. But I've never ever actually used it in a narration or in conversation or in talking about animals. Humans somehow have this need to quantify everything. There has to be an age to something. There has to be numbers. Things have to have numbers attached to them. How old they are, how much they eat, how much they weigh. And I understand that it's all a learning process. It's all part of the learning. It's all part of understanding of an animal. Having an idea of how much an animal will eat. But they're all different. Oh, an accipiter.
Yeah.
Morning, Lex. Very good, and you?
Good.
Morning, all.
How's it going?
Very nice, thanks.
Yeah.
And you?
Good.
Good. Any tracks there?
No, I came along the fire break. I didn't do the main road.
Okay, I was about to do the fibre. I'll do the main road then.
Yeah. So didn't see any tracks on the fire.
Yeah. She seems to have come out that little track that goes down to Room 8
Yes.
and then headed north up Mvubu Road, but only a couple of 100 yards, because then the first few 100 yards coming in from the fire break there was nothing.
Okay.
She might still be in the block though.
All right. Yeah, we'll keep looking.
Yeah. Okay.
Good luck.
Enjoy
You
your
haven't seen any line tracks?
No, not today. Haven't covered much ground, but no.
Yeah. There's like lines all over the place. The tracks, the male lines have come in from Gateside.
Yeah.
We're calling to the south of our camp and maybe even into Wete.
Okay. Did you do that strip from Sydney's Dam?
Yes.
You've done that stretch? Nothing. There was a buffalo, wasn't there a buffalo kill on Buffelshoek?
Yes, a little baby buffalo. And Induna was on there,
Yeah.
and he came off there heading.
Well, that's what I reckon here. Those were his tracks on the
Yes.
fire break where that shortcut comes in.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he's also been hanging around our camp as well.
Yeah.
Came in from there. All right, see you later.
Right, good luck, eh?
Have a lovely morning. Bye. Maybe it was him playing with my laundry. So, a button on my toe. Off we go. The Lex did the fire brake. We'll do Biffles a cut line. We'll go back to the west a little bit. Towards Sydney's Dam, Aubrey's Road. Yeah. Yeah. I think so. Yeah. He was at London Loads for many, many years. Did a lot of filming of leopards. Wrote books. His latest book is about mammals, I think. He's quite an icon in this business. He owned Eco Training.
Oh, does he?
I don't know if he still does, but he used to. Huh? Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. I should have showed you that we should have looked at that big jackalberry. We've gone past it now. One of the biggest jackalberries we have here, that's an ancient tree. Talking of trees and ages earlier. Mind like, as I say, a mind like a sieve. Evidently lion tracks moving around all over the place. Do you think they'd cross this road and come onto our side of the world? 2 herds of buffalo here the other day. And where did I catch a buffalo? On Buffelsville. Oh, morning, Ramar. How are you today? Ramar wants to know, aren't I afraid of being attacked by a predator when I get off the vehicle to look at tracks? No. If it happens, it happens. And I go doing what I love. But generally speaking, that they don't just attack. They lion track. But they hold big males. It might have been the time I saw big 2 days ago. Look, big male lion. Wow. At least 4. Okay. Aha. Yeah. There's another man. There's another one here, going both ways. But these are old tracks, unfortunately. Up and down. This looks a bit fresher, that one. But maybe fresh like yesterday. Elephant track also crossing the road here. That's coming onto our side. That's quite fresh. An elephant that's gone in to our side of the world. Generally the predators will growl and snarl and spit and make a fuss. If you just suddenly appear in their space and you're on foot, there's often a time, most of the time, they'll actually turn and run away. There are the odd occasions that they might turn around and attack. Nothing. Branch. Oh. Yeah, I see. Nothing.
Huh?
No. Not moving.
Oh.
I need to put batteries in my binoculars.
Get some new eyes.
Well, part of my life is about being on foot in the bush. In fact, most of my life I have been on foot in the bush. Probably spend more time walking in the bush than I have driving. Well, except for the last 2.5 years, that is. In that I used to specialize in walking safaris, overnight walking safaris, some really wonderful places in East Africa. And yes, there's always the awareness that you're walking in an area that is filled with animals that are not happy with humans on foot. We've lost our ability to live with these things because we've been living a domestic life for so long. Yeah, these are a bit fresher, these lion tracks. Most of them seem to be going east, if we're not going the wrong way. Lion up and down all over the place. Yeah, now that's fresh. That is fresh. And that's going east. Maybe we need to turn around and go the other way, which we shall do shortly. This kind of weather, great for cats to move around into the morning, well into the morning, especially lion. If there was no cloud, it's likely to force them into the shade and into dreamland. But these cool conditions allow cats to be a little bit more active. I was sleeping here this morning. Please spell the name for me. Janie. Hello, Janie. South Africa it would be Yanni. a J in South African, well, in Afrikaans at any rate, is pronounced with the Y kind of sound as opposed to the J. Okay, we're gonna go. This is Tamboti Dam, Gugu Road area. We're gonna go east. Let me just mention this to Lex. Lex, come in. Ow, Mark. Right here. Lex came out of here. Okay. Go to Buffelshoek Dam. Oh. Janie. You see, now I don't know what it is with my brain today. Instead of answering your question, I started talking about your name, and because I did that, I forgot what your question was. I'm impossible this morning. But Janie was asking about my hat, where I got it from. I got it from the States, believe it or not, but it originally comes from Australia. A lot of elephant tracks crossing here, going onto our side of the road. We'll come back to it at some point. The hat is called an Akubra, A-K-U-B-R-A. It is a very well-known Australian brand. It comes from Australia, and they are about the best hats in the world, in my opinion. Having I thought so, as a little raptor, a little accipiter. I'm thinking could be a lizard buzzard because it's got red feet, red beak. It's a little bit puffed up, and I'm hoping to see just under its chin there's should be a little vertical dark stripe, and it looks like there could be one there. Unfortunately, the name lizard buzzard implies a much larger bird, but buzzard is kind of a generic name for different things, because some people will call vultures buzzards. We get a bird called a jackal buzzard, which is 10 times the size of that. That is about 8 inches, 20 centimeters, 25 centimeters. A little bit fluffed up on a cold morning, but still looking out for prey. And I would say it's just seen something that was almost harrying like a harrier. Not able to do so properly, but it looked like it went down onto something. And they will feed mostly on, as the name implies, lizards, small snakes, geckos, some of the larger insects. Elephant. Coming out, going back the other way. Big. So getting back to the hat, you know, Australia's had this problem with rabbits ever since the first few rabbits were imported into Australia a couple of 100 years ago. And well, the rabbits are causing havoc. In fact, I think there's been an upsurge in their numbers. And it's damaging to the environment. And as much as I dislike the thought of killing animals, unfortunately when you have an overpopulation of a species in an area that it doesn't belong, there is no alternative but to try and eradicate it. And if you can find a use, if there's a use for it, for its product or products made from it, then, well, hats are made. These hats are made out of rabbit fur. The felt of these hats is rabbit fur. What kind of spiders? Large spiders. Hello, Paula. In Kentucky. Do we ever come across large spiders? Yes, we do. Sure, I think on my Facebook page I've got a picture of a large spider. A big baboon spider. African equivalent of a tarantula. So yes, Paula, at this time of the year though, spiders are not very common, and that's mostly because the insects, there are not that many insects around at the moment. The largest spider that we have is the baboon spider. As I say, it's the same, it's cousin of the tarantula, belongs to the same genus, the same family, the Margellomorphs. Spiders that we have, the other two different, well, there are actually more than two, but two types. Spiders. And the one is the golden orb, which if you watch us through the summer, by the end of the year, this year, going into late summer, our next summer season, we will see the golden orb spiders. Magnificent, big, web-spinning spiders. You do get a type of golden orb in the States. In fact, almost every continent. Nephila is the name. And then that's the diurnal one, and then there's a nocturnal spider known as the bark spider. They're quite large. But all our large spiders are relatively harmless. Oh, there's the rain spider. Beautiful spider. It's also very large and very harmless. Well, you can't get very harmless, but you know what I mean. Like being very pregnant. You either are or you aren't. There are no degrees of it. No degrees of harmlessness. So there's our lion, still walking on the road. Make contact, Mr. Hess. Lex, come in. Please, let's find this big boy. Mother Nature, universe, whoever's listening. We're still walking on the road. So, still a chance that he might be around. Maybe this lion took a stroll to Buffelshoek Dam for a drink, and he's going to lie down at the dam and wait for a buffalo. Maybe that's the height of optimism. Go ahead.
So Mark, we picked up Induna at Tinwit Dam, on the dam wall, and looks like trying to book a data which is moving that south, so I'm not sure
Okay, thanks. I'm just at Buffelshoek Dam. I've just been there twice. There are lion tracks here on the cut line heading east, big male. I'm just checking at Buffelshoek Dam quickly.
Okay, copy.
These tracks aren't on the road anymore. So we were at Tamboti Dam. I was chatting away, was talking about something, I can't even remember what it was, but when we turned around, the last time we turned around to come back east, was up at Tamboti Dam, and that's where Induna is now. Lex has just found him, which is just north of our boundary, and he might actually turn south. Young Induna. See, now we found his tracks, and then I got out to have a look at the tracks to see if there was anything at Mvubu Road, and there wasn't, and I thought I should have thought there wasn't anything there, so he must have gone north. Oh well, that's the luck of the draw. I guess it's one of those things. We're just going to check here, have a look at Buffelshoek Dam, and then we're going to go back towards Tamboti Dam, and we'll go back towards Mvubu Road. Maybe we'll be lucky enough to have Induna come back onto our side of the road. I'm not seeing any tracks from this lion here. But he might have cut through the bush. Jenna in Colorado. How many birds are there in Africa? Wow. And how many birds feed on large animals like buffalo? None. Other than vultures that will feed on a dead buffalo. How many birds in Africa, Jenna? Gosh. Let's just put it this way. Here in South Africa alone, there are over 900 species, as far as I know. Different species throughout Africa, probably well over 1,000 and something. I have no idea, I'm afraid. Hello, hippo. No cat. Or cats. Or tracks of cats. Yet. Okay, let's not take too much time here. If you're doing a stalking a duiker, we don't want to be too far away when he starts moving around there. And I'm going to take the fire break back now because that lion might have crossed over onto the fire break. Backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. Oh, coming up with the damn wall, look at that. Also, there's another thing about these cooler temperatures and the cloudy conditions, that hippo will be spending more time out of the water. The grasses are drying, they're going to need a lot more grasses. Now the key is to figure out whether this hippo is welcome or not. As the other hippos are starting to move around now. A lone Egyptian goose. Copy, thanks. Lost in Duna. No? Probably assessing the situation with the hippo in the dam. Might be part of the group. It looks like one of the females might be approaching him. One of the cows. Off he goes into the water. Oh, he's moving north. Thanks very much. Now the goose is following the hippo into the water. Because the goose wants to ride a wave.
He's surfing.
Okay, so I'm not going to rush back too quickly. What we are going to do is we're going to look at the fire break now, where we came from, to see if that lion might have crossed onto the fire break. Maybe we'll go to Hyena Road or Bye Hippos. Have a lovely day. Another one coming out of the water now. There's a big bull. Actually, I don't think we should leave right now. I'm going to go down onto the edge here, Seb. There's a baby. A little one. Let's just get down here and have a look. It seems to be this hippo that's just arrived. Might be causing a little bit of consternation. Let's have a look at what's going on with the hippo quickly. Don't come back, don't wait now. Okay, if you must. We know her. She's got such a distinctive nose. She's got this sort of hump on her nose, which we call the Roman nose, not hippo. She's been at Gowrie Dam, she's been here. But she's got a very distinctive face, this girl. Well, so much for some hippo action. I thought maybe there might have been a dispute over who belongs here, with that one coming back and one going out of the water. This might be interesting. Just the two hippos approaching each other. There's neither dominance behavior nor submissive behavior there. But I still don't know which one. I don't know where that one is that came into the dam now. There's another nostril coming up every now and then.
I think there's 3 of them, mate.
Yeah. And the calf is here as well somewhere. And there's a 4th one coming in from the back. Oh, there's the calf, the back there. With the mother. Top left of the screen is cow and a youngster. Okay. Getting back to that question on the birds, before I get to Laurie's question, which I'm forgetting already. The largest mammal that can be killed by a bird are some of the antelope and some of the primates. If you look at Africa's I'd say our 3 largest eagles here in Africa: the Marshall eagle, the crowned eagle, and the Vero's eagle. All 3 of them capable of killing fairly large mammals. The crowned eagle is known to kill monkeys, bushbuck. Now, bushbuck are about the size of impala. Marshall eagles are known to kill impala. I've known black eagle, or Vero's eagle, to kill adult female baboons. And of course other primates. A crowned eagle in Nairobi, Kenya, killed a 4-year-old child. Crowned eagle is one of the most powerful eagles. It might not be one of the biggest, but in terms of talent, size of its talons, and in terms of its strength of its wings, it's probably about one of the strongest. The crowned eagle is has a very particular habitat that it lives in. Forest eagle. And it has exceptionally broad wings to be able to allow it to fly vertically with its prey. But having said that, and having said that they kill antelope, these are not eagles that are able to fly away with their antelope or with very large prey. They're able to kill them and feed on them and then maybe fly away with parts of the body, but not an entire antelope. I mean, a Marshall eagle that kills an impala is hardly going to be able to fly away with it. But because they're able to kill them, they can kill it and feed on it on the ground. But it's not common. It's not a common occurrence. I mean, the Marshall eagle is rather going to be killing things like guinea fowl and monitor lizards. Those are 2 of its favorite prey items. Marshall eagle, of the 3, eagles that I mentioned, we get the Martial eagle here, M-A-R-T-I-A-L, as opposed to martial like a sheriff. This is martial as in martial law. So now, what was Laurie asking again? I had to pause there. I was going to answer it and then the hippos started doing things. So I paused and started thinking about what the hippo were doing. Oh right, okay. And I just thought that at the moment it wasn't prudent to talk about languages when we're looking at hippos. But yes, Laurie was asking what language do I speak? Most people in South Africa, bilingual, multilingual. Well yes, being a South African, one learned 2 languages at school, first and second language. So unfortunately when I was at school we didn't have the opportunity to learn any of the indigenous languages. We were taught English and Afrikaans. Afrikaans might sound like an African language because it has, but Afrikaans is closer to Dutch than any of the African languages. In fact, there's nothing at all. Uh-oh, got to do the clutch again. The lion was here. Okay. I've got to fill up the clutch again. Excuse me a second. Car has a hydraulic clutch and it seems the seal kit on the master cylinder must have gone because it's losing a bit of fluid here on the floor. I'm going to have to replace the seal kit when I get a chance. I'm going to have to buy one first, of course. Sign of this cat. I need to go in. There's a toe. Let's go back this way now. Lion's fooling around with me. Up and down, up and down. It's like he's patrolling. Anyways, Laurie, languages, yes, English and Afrikaans learned at school, and I speak a bit of Shangaan, I speak Swahili, I speak a bit of German. I used to speak Hebrew. I used to do quite well with Hebrew when I was in my early teens.
You got friends?
No, a few. Un petit peu. A little bit of French. In fact, with Sebi, I should be learning French. I should be able to. This is a big lion. But I think this is. Oops. These tracks are older than the tracks that we saw coming the other way. I understand more languages than I speak. I speak Zulu, a little bit of Zulu. I used to speak a little bit of Setswana, little bit, smattering of Setswana, living in Botswana. And I guess that's about it. And we're back. Just came through that dip. It was quite deep. Gonna go back a little bit towards Mvubu Road and see whether this line didn't maybe turn south. He was up and down. Diane, hi Diane. And thanks for your question. Important question there, because often when we're looking at tracks, we go, oh, that's fresh or that's old. One wants to know, how do we tell? Telling the difference between something fresh and something old. And we've got a little bit of sun coming through the cloud, and it's going to make it a lot easier to show you if I can with a little bit of sunshine, because you need a little bit of sunshine to produce a bit of a shadow that helps to not only see the track but to age the track. Now let's see, where are my lion tracks that were here? If we can find them. I should. Depending on the consistency of the sand, whether it's soft sand or hard sand. Obviously in soft sand, little powdery sand, it's a lot easier to show you and explain to you than on harder soil, because the softer the sand, the more distinct the track is, the sharper it is, should I say. Edges of a track. Oops. And I remember one day trying to explain, trying to think of a way to not only explain it to you, how you could maybe experiment yourselves. And I was talking about if you had a little patch of sand in your garden or something. But not everybody has gardens, and not everybody is able to do something like that. And then I thought about it just recently. If you take a breadboard and you take something like, let's say, flour. Now obviously flour, being very, very powdery, is going to be the ideal medium, because you're even going to be able to see your fingerprints in flour. But if you dusted a breadboard, for example, a cutting board with flour, and put your hand in it. I don't mean sort of smack your hand on it, but put your hand on it as though you were an animal walking. And you have a look at, I mean, talking about not a very thick layer of flour, the kind of, just at least a consistent layer of flour. Not a sprinkling, more than a sprinkling. And, well, one thing you could do is you could blow on it and see how the track changes. The other thing you could do is you could leave it on your kitchen counter for a few days. Problem is there's no wind and there's no weathering of it there. But if you were to do something like that, when you put your hand in the flour, when you make your handprint, you'll notice how where your wrinkles are and where your fingerprints are, where the edges of your fingers are, how sharp the ridges are. It makes it very, very distinct. Now when the track is aging, all those very sharp ridges start becoming rounded and less distinct, and eventually it just becomes almost like a depression in the flour. It's hardly distinguishable from the original. I'm going to wait and see if we can find a nice sandy patch of ground, and I'll see if I can't show you. Otherwise we're going to have to go back to Buffels of Cut Line where I saw those fresh line tracks and then the older line tracks. This is Hyena Road, by the way. Not the greatest of roads because it's bumpy and dense, but it's going to give me an idea of tracks here. Oh, Rhino was here. Doesn't look like Lion was here. Alex, what's that thing we're doing? Okay, thanks. Sleeping on the other side of Tamboti Dam, so we're not going to be able to see him. Like Rhino was in the mud here. Yesterday maybe. Thank you, Penny. Yes, reminding me about the lunar eclipse coming up on Wednesday, I think. Where are we on our solar calendar right now? Yeah, it's Wednesday. Monday the 13th today. I would think that Monday the 13th would be a more important than a Friday the 13th. Yeah, it's just being a Monday and all. That there would be more meaning to a Monday the 13th than a Friday the 13th. But fortunately for us, we don't have Mondays and Fridays. We have elephant time. I think I better find you an animal, otherwise you're going to start wondering whether we have any animals here. We just have people walking around with sticks and animal shaped things on the end to make footprints. Of course, if they're all hiding away, there's not much I can do about it. Little bee eater, that child. It's a pretty little thing. Stay there, don't go. There are about 3 of them flying around here. This tree is broken not from wind but from an elephant. There he is, one of them. There's another one. Little bee eaters. There's another one at the 3 at the back there. Must be 2 pairs of them. Gorgeous little birds. Now all the bee eaters have got beautiful colouring. They all have this typical long, sharp, decurved beak that runs into a black eye line going through the eye, and then a lot of them have the blue eyeliner just above the black line, and then of course all of them have different colouring on the throat, and they're just all very pretty coloured birds, the bee eaters. And as the name suggests, they do eat bees and wasps. They're able to deal with the stings. And the second little one is hawking insects, sitting on the perch, and as soon as it sees an insect, flies off, catches the insect, and generally they land, they come back to the same perch. Until they move to another perch, and then they go hunting insects from that perch, as this one has done. Thank you, bee eater. Pleasant. young Nyala just ran across the road. A little lamb. Disappeared already. Huh. Gone with the wind. And we're now coming onto Central Road, and I think it's time for me to go and see Cheetah Cutline for a change, unless there's something here of note. Still, Diane, still thinking about your question and trying to find a place where we can see some decent tracks where I can show you the difference between something old and something new. Borrowed and blue. Bet you somebody thought of that after I said that. I just can't believe there are buffalo tracks everywhere. In every single road there are just hundreds of buffalo tracks. 2 days ago we did see a herd here. Good place for tracks will be top end of Central Road, where it joins up with Drakensberg Drive, goes up to Cheetah Cutline. Sorry, Tara, I didn't get that. Susie Cook wants to know, what about the hyena den? Oh, how about the hyena den? Unfortunately, it's a bit far. We're not going to be able to go there today. We'll go there tomorrow, Susie. We're on sort of opposite end of the world at the moment. We're up in the northeast. The hyena den's further south and west of us. Maybe we'll start there tomorrow morning. Laurie in California. Hello, Laurie. What part of California are you in? Laurie wants to know about termite mounds. It was just, yeah, hyena tracks. Some of them look so large. How long does it take? Some of these, well, this is only one species, to one type of termite that we're seeing with the pinnacle mound. Let's see if I can find you a decent looking one. And some of them can take decades. In fact, some termite mounds, some of the really big ones, like the one with the hyena den, that'll be a couple of centuries old, at least a couple of 100 years old, to get to be that size. I mean, it takes about 10 years to get to be the size of a football. I'm just going to move this out of the way. Excuse me a sec. And then Laurie was asking, how do the trees survive in the middle of the termite mound? Well, termites, Laurie, only eat dead wood. So the living tree that lives in or on termite mound is perfectly safe from termite damage. They might eat on the dead outer bark of a tree. In fact, there are some termites who don't build mounds. That's all they do, is they live on the bark of trees, or just in the bark of trees, and they make tunnels up and down the trees, eating any of the dead wood, dead part of a tree. But when you look at a like this termite mound here, that perhaps where there's this bush willow growing out of it, it's quite likely that the termite mound was, well, it's chicken and egg thing, kind of, which came first, the tree or the termite mound. But obviously also the termite mound, with its temperature and humidity, creates ideal conditions for things to grow. But sometimes you will see trees growing on termite mounds that grew after the termite mound was there, and some trees, the termites have grown around, or rather the mound itself has developed around the tree. In this case, kind of hard to tell, because the tree looks young, because those are they're like little saplings, but the base of the tree is very, very old, because that tree must have been there for a long, long time, and it's just, that's all recoppicing that is growing. It's all new growth from the old base of the tree. But it's likely that the termite mound was there first. There's certain trees, most of the fruiting trees, in fact, let me try and find it for you, but in some cases, or in most cases, of these very, very big termite mounds, most of the trees came after the termite mound, and they're mostly fruiting trees, and you find that you'll find a whole tree community, a different grouping of trees, specific trees in fact, that will grow on and around termite mounds, and that is because baboons are responsible for those trees being there. Baboons eating the fruits and using the termite mounds as vantage points and defecating on the trees, and the seeds then growing. The termites are not interested in the living matter. They only want dead wood. Buffalo. We're bound to. There's so many buffalo tracks around. We're bound to catch up with some buffalo eventually. Probably just the end of the herd. I see the rest of the herd is up ahead of us. Let's go further up and we'll probably get into the middle of the herd. Actually, what I'm going to do is go up to Cheetah Cut Line quickly rather. The buffalo here on our left. They might be spread out enough to reaching up onto Cheetah Cut Line. Herd of Inyati on Central Road, well, between Central Road and Quarry Pan and Cheetah Cut Line. Heading east up towards Buffelshoek Dam, turn off towards that quarry, and then I lost it. There are some tracks on the fire break going west again, but the freshest tracks were heading east along Buffelshoek Cut Line.
Okay, and was that close to the turn off to Buffelshoek Dam?
Yeah, just west of there. Elephant. Laurie, thank you for your answer there. Near Sacramento, Central California. Yeah, I visited that part of the world. Went up to Davis. UC Davis. Talked to a professor. Oh wow, we've got a lovely family group here. And they're all coming across onto our side of the world. See if we can recognize anybody. Hello, Mrs. Ellie and little one. Hello. Quite a young cow to have a little calf. Oh, wow. She's carrying her food with her. Another calf. And all coming out to say hello. Trunks in the air. Maybe go forward a little. Well, I didn't see, they were kind of rushing and I didn't want to go too close to them because then they would have just run into the bush maybe. So by stopping, I was just giving them an indication that I don't mean them any harm.
I'm saying it's quite a big herd.
It's a nice group, yeah. Moms and babies. Oh, there's another little one coming across. Look at that little thing. It's got such a, they have such a wonderful gait, these little calves. Little 2-year-old. Aha, and here comes a bull. Not always, very often a bull tagging along. Even more. There's a nice group of elephant up on Cheetah Cut Line coming onto Western Gari, just north of Central Road. Oh, he wants to. Yeah, these Ndlovu are probably going to be with these buff very soon. Look at that little one. We know this old girl, this tuskless old girl. My word, look how many elephants there are. And they're all it's like, they're all carrying branches. It's like, aren't there enough trees on the side of the road? And they're still coming. Oh, there's a tiny little one up there. This would be a number of family groups joining together, family units. See, there's another one. What they're doing is they're chewing the bark off the ends of these branches that they're carrying.
But it's moved into the grass right next to where it was.
Thank you, Alan.
Where is that, Alan? That's from Ricky down now. Yeah, Paul, you go up the hill a little bit, about halfway up, you'll find the old entrance there. I marked it with a bit of a branch. And you're going there, you'll see the pictures of the tracks going.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to see if we can't find a way to view them, and they're moving into all this combretum. This bush willow. There might still be a little boy or two that are lagging behind. Although it looks like most of the herd is coming, all the herd, all of them have come across already. But that bull was testing to see if any of them were, well, he was trying to test that one female. He was trying to smell her, and she wanted none of it. She wasn't interested. Partly because he's a young bull and he's not mating material. Probably, and partly because she's probably not in estrus. We should have counted. I wonder, did anybody count as they were coming across the road? I'd say there must be maybe 30. 20 or 30. clouds all burnt away. Unusual to have this kind of cloud at this time of the year, but it is approaching full moon, and I guess there's even a chance we might have rain. Iris. Now, it's a matter of trying to find a way to get in here to see them. They're still moving west. And I know there is a little bit of an open patch of ground in there. We could go to Central Road. I think let's maybe do that. Go to Central Road, we'll go to the Buffalo, and they're going to make their way out onto Central Road. Rather than try and crash through this bush, let's just use the road. Elephants. Start a week with elephants. What more could one ask for? To start a week, here's one. Here they're coming. Oh, let me slow down, otherwise I'm going to upset this old lady. This is the tuskless old girl. So they're moving slightly south too. I was hoping they're going to be going due west. Hello, madam. Gosh, you've got big boobs. Full of milk. And she looks pretty pregnant. Now, this is the angle that she's standing at, but she got a huge bulge there. Let's just try and see what calf is with her. Anyways, as I was saying, there's quite something to consider that we have so many elephants coming onto Western Gari today, and with a bit of luck they might even make their way towards the dam. Of course, not going to help us if we don't have the camera, but it will help us for tomorrow. They're going to be around tomorrow. There's a tiny elephant in there. Barely see it. We can barely see it above the grasses. Like that noise. Sounds like a stone on the cowling on the brake disc that's scratching. Also, they could be listening to the buffalo up ahead. Can't be too far from that herd of buffalo now. I've got to just do something quickly because this is starting to make a bit more noise and it's upsetting the elephant. metallic scraping noise. It's upsetting me too, you see? Oh, that's better. Quieter. A little quieter. Still a slight scraping noise. Great to see interaction between buffalo and elephant. If anything, he isn't small. This is a huge bull. And the little yearling next to him. Young female heifer. Okay, well, let's move up a bit towards the herd and the elephant. He might. Hello, man. Sorry, didn't mean to get you up. Excuse me, if you don't mind. Yeah, that is a big bull. Hello, Susie Cook. Why do hippos have pink colors around the eyes and parts of the body? Because that is the color of a hippo, Susie. The dark part of the hippo is the sunburn. That's. But hippos generally are that pinkish color where they aren't sunburnt. Hello, little baby. Little fluffy girl. Hello. Hello, everybody. Look at this, is a new one. Fairly new. Little calf. Youngsters always playful. Hello, Mrs. Buffalo, relax. Just coming to say hello. Hello, little fluffy child. I'm thinking these elephants are going to find their way around this herd more than anything. They're listening to them. They were going to make their way around to the south of the herd. I think we might miss them. So what I think we'll do is we're going to drive through the herd to Quarry Pan, and then we'll turn around and come back again, and by then the elephant should be visible again. We might get some idea of tracks around Quarry Pan as well. But yeah, I think these elephants will go south of this herd. Hello. Despite their reputation, buffalo, and they do have a reputation, and a well-earned reputation, because they can get rather aggressive, and like, here's elephants. So much for south of the herd, huh? Right here with the buffalo. Some of the elephant. I mean, a little bit nervous this close. I mean, I can practically touch him, but I'm worrying if a buffalo like that swings around with those horns, I'll get it right in the gut. That big bull's smelling this cow. He's huge. He's as big as they get. I guess the elephant aren't too. And there's no reason for the elephant to avoid the buffalo, other than, yeah, other than it's just a large herd, and well, just the noise and the dung and the. But here they come. We might even get some of these young elephants getting a little bit stroppy with these buffalo, like this one, just moving it off. There's not going to be much conflict. Yeah. Feeling a tree where the buffalo were rubbing. Look at that, it's actually feeling the texture of that tree. Little boy. And Ndlovu and Inyati now on Drakensberg Drive, just south of Quarry Pan. If anybody's still out there. He's a little uncertain. Buffalo everywhere, so he's gonna do something. I can just see it. It's the clock ticking and these gears turning in his head. He's gonna chase somebody. He's sort of intimidated and sort of not. And the only way to deal with that is probably to try and intimidate back, I guess. I still want to get to Guaripan and turn around because the light is going to be much better if we turn around. So let's see what we can find facing the other way. Oh? Yeah. Oh yeah, I see that. Yeah. Young calf, it's got a bit of a patch of skin missing on its rump. Possibly from hyena or something, or lion. And then it was rescued by the herd. A herd this size will be a formidable opponent because they'll gang up on a predator. It's possible that they could. The calf is taken and they hear it. You get some of the bulls and cows that will form a wall of horn and chase lion or hyena off. This is a huge herd, a few hundred buffalo here. Very well spread out. Hello boys, here's some of the pathfinders, the bulls. Where's your tail, madam? Lost the end of it. Sorry to disturb you girls and boys. Wow. A couple of 200 meters worth of buffalo. Hey Laurie, in California. Do people in South Africa use buffalo like, well, do we eat it? Do we eat buffalo? Do we? Yes, we do, to some extent. Like you do in the States. I remember I had a buffalo burger in the States. But yes, in some places. But not these buffalo. I have eaten buffalo biltong. We call biltong similar to your beef jerky, Laurie. Except it's not smoked and cured. It is just marinated, sometimes marinated, but it's just dried meat really. Our biltong, and I've had buffalo biltong. What does it taste like? Not chicken. No, Laurie, I won't say chicken. Laurie said don't say chicken. It tastes a bit more gamey than beef, I guess. It's leaner, obviously. I'm just looking, there are no interesting tracks here at the junction where there normally are a lot of tracks. Nothing much other than buffalo. I guess it probably doesn't taste very different to bison if you've eaten bison or American buffalo. It's not as rich as, say, impala or kudu, but it does have a distinct taste. I haven't eaten so much buffalo meat cooked as much as I've eaten it raw. Well, dried, of course. I wonder if I've got... That's who I want. Still haven't come out of this thick stuff, these elephants. I was saying, I mean, look at this bull next to me here. Not even looking at me. Okay, turn your back on me. I was about to talk about you. I'll put you on camera. Camera shot. I think I was saying earlier, and I don't know if I managed to get to the point, which sometimes often happens, that despite their reputation, when they're in a big herd like this, they're actually, if you're not a lion and you're wanting to hunt them, they're actually quite docile. There's a gap that we can maybe get in here. At least to say hello to an elephant. They've been in this thick stuff and they're just making their way through now to the edge of this forest. Youngster playing with the buffalo. There's always going to be one elephant that's going to chase buffalo. Little does he know that there are about 300 or 400 of them, and if he wants to chase buffalo, he's going to have his work. He's going to have a very busy day. Let's go up there and have a look. Hello everybody. There's a nice little open patch for us. Lovely big lady here. There you go, buffalo one side, elephant the other. Just try and find a spot where we can see quite well. There we go. I suppose this is good enough. Nice little open patch with some action all around us. Don't look at me like that. I didn't chase you. It was the elephant. Uh-oh. A couple of buffalo caught in the middle here. They go one way and there's a young elephant shouting at them. They go another way, there's another one. And then there's us. And we're in the situation again where, well, there's stuff all around us and we don't know where to look first. Best friends or closely related boys. She's been taking a creeper out of that wattle. She's not feeding on the wattle itself. She was finding a creeper in there that she's taking out. Big lady, that. An old girl, grandma. She must be one of the matriarchs. Group of elephants like this, there'll be several matriarchs, not just one matriarch for all of them. These are various different family groups that have all got together and they're socializing and they're spending time allowing the children, as there is a little group of youngsters just up to the right, all the same age, like a bunch of kids all playing together. Very little ones stay with their moms. Those youngsters are all between about the ages of 6 and 8, I'd say. And they might be cousins, they might be distant relatives. So all these family units are somehow, or will be somehow related, even if it's a few generations ago. utilizing the same areas at the same time of the year. Their paths naturally crossing very often, and then they get to spend time together. We're going to sit here a little bit longer. Some of you want to go to bed and go to sleep, and some of you probably fallen asleep already. But I don't even know I'm going to go anywhere, because it seems like the clutch has once again lost all its fluid. I don't know how these elephants are going to feel about me filling up clutch fluid amongst them, but let's see if I can get it in gear. No. I'm just going to sit here for a few minutes until I can replenish the fluid and wait for these youngsters to come by. Wouldn't want to give them nightmares. I'm hoping we're still going to have some of these elephants around tomorrow. Now that they are here on Western Gowrie, one of the things we can do is find their tracks tomorrow and follow up on them and see where they went. And we might find that they might come closer to Gowrie today.
Hello.
Lucky Mum wasn't here. I don't want to leave, but I have to. two little ones sparring behind that wattle. Why can't they do it here where we can see them? Come this way, boys. Oh, there's a three-way sparring match. Now we're going to say goodbye to you, I'm afraid. From the buffalo and the elephants and Seb and myself and Tara back in final control from a lovely morning. Thank you very much for joining me. Good night for those of you going to bed, and enjoy your week. Bye bye everybody. Too good to leave. So just a few more minutes. Come. Come on. Come, little one. Come. And of course, that's not even looking at what we got on the other side of us, with adults. Oh, where this one's going.
Very scary.
Yeah. Okay. Let's call it a day. Bye everyone. Humans.